Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Dr. Karachi, and in this video we will discuss the DNS enumeration and the tools that can be used. Now, we're going to talk about briefly about what is DNS, and we're going to talk about DNS records, how useful the DNS information be to hackers, what is the DNS enumeration, and what tools associated with the DNS enumeration. Now, DNS stands for domain name server, which basically, these servers that translate human readable domain names into IP addresses. And the DNS servers are like, think of like a phone box of the internet, directing domain names to the specific web servers that host them. When you type the domain name here, okay, into the web browser, your computer will send the request or the query to the DNS server, okay? Now, the DNS server then looks up the IP address associated with the domain name here, and then it will return the IP to your browser, and the browser will go ahead and contact the web server directly, which result that the web server will reply with the web page of the website you intended to visit. Now, when it comes to records, the first one here we have the A record, which holds the IP address associated with the domain, okay, domain to IP. And then here we have the CNAME record, which basically maps one domain to another, like all of them, they're basically together, like for example, like mapping www.your_domain.com to your_domain.com. MX record means it tells us, the servers that handle emails from a particular domain. The text record means it enables the the admin to store some notes on the DNS server. The NS record specifies the authoritative name server for your DNS zone. SOA record, known as the start of authority record, it enables all critical information about the domain that includes the admin email, domain loss update, etc., etc. The SRV record, okay, this record specifies servers running particular services. Okay, and finally, the PTR record, known as a pointer record, it's basically used during the reverse DNS lookup. Now, how useful can DNS information be to a hacker? Uh, you know, first of all, uh, it would give the target, or basically it will provide the hackers with valuable information about your system. So the hackers basically will analyze those DNS information. Basically, attackers can have better understanding of the target and can develop more effective attack strategies. So, uh, basically, they could use it for reconnaissance. Okay, and also before the reconnaissance, by the way, when they learn about the number of the subdomains organization has, so the attacker by the way, will get a good idea of the size and complexity of the organization, which of course a large organization with a complex network is likely to have more subdomains, like a small company, they might have probably two or three, you know. Okay, now going back to the reconnaissance, DNS records provide valuable information about the target's network infrastructure. You know, by querying the DNS servers, hackers can gather details such as IP addresses, domain names, mail servers, network configuration, which basically this information can help the attacker doing some sort of mapping to the about the target's network, and could potentially identify vulnerabilities. Social engineering, the DNS can be useful in social engineering attacks, believe it or not, because hackers can gather information about organization employees, like how's their email address structure, and also the structure of the email system is very important. Like for example, could be the email of this company, first name dot the last name at company.com, or it could be the first letter of the first name and then the full last name at this. So they will get an idea about the type of structure they have. Can be used for DNS spoofing, like hackers can manipulate DNS records to redirect traffic to malicious servers, assuming that this DNS server is vulnerable. So if this server, if the DNS server is vulnerable, the attackers can compromise the DNS servers, or also they could inject false DNS responses, which they can trick users into visiting fake websites. Okay. Now, exploiting misconfiguration, this can expose vulnerabilities that hackers can exploit. Like, for example, like if a DNS server is improperly configured, it will allow zone transfers, which means that the attacker can gather sensitive information about the domain and subdomains and its infrastructure, such as IP address and so on. Finally, for distributed denial of service attacks, hackers can abuse the DNS infrastructure to launch DDoS attacks, by flooding the DNS servers with requests or exploiting vulnerabilities in the DNS software, which basically, if something happened to the DNS server, that means that the target system will be disrupted, will be down completely. Now, what is DNS enumeration? Okay, think about DNS enumeration is the process of gathering information about the domain name and the subdomains and the records, you know. With effective DNS enumeration, you could basically clone the DNS zone manually, by running those tools that I'm going to show you later on. We're assuming that the DNS server is not configured properly by blocking zone transfer to unauthorized servers. When you clone DNS server, you will use this type of option here, which is called synchronous transfer full range. Okay. You will see it in the tool later on. Now, also, DNS enumeration can be performed manually or using automated tools, that's also one option. Okay, and also we could use the DNS enumeration for vulnerability assessment. Like DNS enumeration can be used to identify potential attack vectors, such as vulnerable DNS zones that can be exploited to gain unauthorized access to a network. Also, it can be used for network mapping, like a DNS enumeration can be used to map out a network by identifying the IP addresses of hosts and the relationships between them. Finally, we have the threat intelligence gathering information. Doing the DNS enumeration, you could gather information about a target organization, such as the names of the host and the services running on the network here. Now, okay, so what tools can be used? We're gonna cover a bunch of them here. Like the first one is the host command, which can help you to perform DNS domain, lookups and retrieve information about the domain names and IP addresses. NS lookup also is also very well known to create a DNS service to retrieve information about the domain names, IP addresses, and other DNS records. The one we just mentioned a couple of slides back. The dig is also, this is a very well-known command that provides a more advanced and flexible DNS lookup functionality compared to other DNS lookup tool like NS lookup. So this is much more advanced comparing to the NS lookup here. The nmap also is a very well known. Okay, there are certain scripts that can be used for DNS, brute force, reconnaissance, gathering information, and finally the DNS or enumeration and the DNS recon. Both them are tools used to gather information about the target's DNS infrastructure. Now, now we will start with the practical part of this video. However, please remember that we cannot cover every switch available with the commands, but we will focus on the most important common switches. So the first command we're going to cover is the host command, and you're aware if you type man host, okay, you will get every detailed information about the host command. Okay, now if I type host the site.org, okay, here we got information. The IP address associated with the domain name, and here's the IP 6 also. It's enabled, and email servers are associated with the domain name here. So that's the IP4. Here we have IP6, and here we have the email servers. Okay, now let's be more specific. So I wanted to display only the HTMX records. Now, notice this only is displaying only the email server information versus the one here. Here we have IP6 and 4, but it's not displaying. Once you tell it -T for the type you want to display. Okay. Okay, now let me show you also. There's another option here, the -V. Okay, this will tell you the version of the host, that is running currently in Kali Linux. Of course, this based on updates. Now let's try, okay, to do here -TNS to show you the DNS, the name servers, okay, associated with the site. Here's the name server, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 name servers. Okay, now if I added, okay, -V. Now -V means set verbose output, which means it will give us more detailed output of the name servers. Okay, so here you can see the difference right now between this, just a very simple, straightforward information, while here we have a little more detailed information it give us. Okay, so here you can see that -V, more information. Now, okay, let me run just very simple, the name server. Okay, now we are going to try to do as zone transfer. So we type host, okay, -TAXFR, the one we discussed it before, and we're going to use the first one here or the second one, and let's run it. So it's trying, but the transfer failed. Now, why the transfer failed? Simply because they got the zone transfer disabled, that's the proper security way of doing it. I have seen it in some sites that it was not configured correctly, and we were able to pull out different type of servers information, the IP addresses, and name of the service. So I mean, the name even told us that, oh, okay, this is the web server, for example. Oh, this is the email, or does something here. Okay. There's also another option. Okay, you could do -L also. Okay. And see that -L also to get the full DNS zone for the given domain name. And you see that we got the same result. Okay. Try that. You can always try different. I mean, if you go here, you can always try this one. Maybe this one's not configured correctly. You could try this one. You could try this one. Okay. Okay, hoping that one of them is not configured correctly. Okay. So this will conclude the host command. Okay, so right now the next command will be the ns lookup. Okay. Now, the first option we could say dash type. We could say ns for the name servers. And you see the output in using other command. These are the name servers here. Now, I could use ns lookup and say mx. Okay, the higher you could see the main exchanger associated with the hackthisSite.org. There's also another option is the debug, which you could view information for debugging, like debug, and here's some information. You see it right here. Basically, it's producing, the name servers here, the type A, the IP address is associated with it. And here, let me just scroll down a little more. Non-authoritative answers here. Okay, so these are just the debugging information here. Now, NSLOOKUP can be run different ways. Like if you see, if you type, like I just showed you, dash type equal ns, or you could just type this way, by saying NSLOOKUP set type equal ns, and then you type in the domain hack this site.org. And also, if you say mx, okay, and then you type here, you'll be getting the main exchanger. Now, there's also another interesting option. You could type, for example, set any. Okay, and here we type the domain name. Now, I want you've seen this information before, like this is the domain and this is the IP 6, and here the text information. Okay, and here we have the text, and here we have the R data. And you could see that this is associated with the mail to the admin, and there's some other websites. So like in the DNS, by the way, the R data stands for resource record data. It's basically, type of data associated with the resource record, which is a data structure that stores information about the domain name or IP address. Uh, this R data can be anything, like it can be like depending on the resource record type, like it could be an A record, okay, or it could be a CNAME record. Now it's basically this R data here, okay, it is stored in a DNS zone file, which is a text file that contains all of the resources records for a particular domain, okay. Now, let's say, for example, if I select here, right click, copy, and then I will open the Firefox. If I type here, paste and go, and it's supposed to take me to a website. So these are type information. I'm not sure what it's for, but it is related to the hack site. Okay. Now, finally, I want to stop at this area here. This is the origin, mean basically this is the origin, is the fully qualified domain name of the zone file. This is the name of the domain that the zone file 4. Now, mail address here, that's the email address of the domain administrator. That like if you want to contact the domain administrator, usually will write down the email address here. Now, the serial here, this is the version number of the zone file. And basically, this number is incremented each time the zone file is modified. Like if you add another host information. This allows slave DNS servers to know when the zone file has been updated or the secondary name server. So like if you update the primary name server, the secondary DNS server will know that, oh, okay, you just added a record. Now it's time for me to sync and update my information in the secondary DNS. Now here we have the refresh. Okay, this is time in seconds here. Okay, and that slave name server should wait before refreshing the zone file from the master, the primary DNS. Basically, this ensures that the slave name server always has the most up-to-date information about the zone here. Oops. Now here we have the retry. Now this is also in seconds, 900 seconds. That the slave name server should wait before retrying to establish a connection to the master following a communications error. This prevents the slave name server from becoming unavailable if there is a temporary problem with the master name server. Okay, and here we have the expire. Now, again, this is in seconds. That may elapse, for example, for example, like before a zone file is no longer considered authoritative. This ensures that the slave name server will stop using the zone file if it becomes old and or outdated. And finally, here we have the minimum. This is the minimum is the time in seconds to cache the NX domain results in DNS. Why? This ensures that the clients will not cache negative results for too long, which could lead to incorrect result being returned. And this is basically will conclude the NS lookup. Now, the third command, we're going to talk about the dig. Okay. Now, dig, when you type plus short, this is going to give you very short information because the default answer is in a verbose form. So, see right now, very short information. Now, what happened if I remove the short? Okay, now we got more information here. Now, okay, this is too much. Now, let's do this. Let's do dig dash t mx, and I would like to use short to reduce the amount of displayed information. Okay, and here you see that's it. These are just very short output for the name or the exchange servers. Now, okay. Let me show you something else also. If I say dig dash t, okay, ns for name server, short Twitter, for example, here are the name servers. And of course, you could always say dig. You could use the AXFR to attempt to, try to do a zone transfer. So we will say here, twitter.com, and then we will pick any one of these. Let's say c.r06 dot twtrdns.net. It's not going to work. Transfer, as you see, transfer failed here because the zone transfer is not working. Now, there's also another option, but we cannot run it. If you say dash dig, dash p this for port. Like if you learn that, this DNS server using non-standard port, okay, so you could just type dash p, let's say 55, okay, because it's not 53, it's 55 here. So this is it for the dig. Now the next command is called the DNS NUM. Okay. Now if you type it alone, it will show you the different options associated with this. Like, by the way, the DNS enum for, this is a multi-threaded Perl script to enumerate a domain DNS information and discover non-contiguous IP blocks. The main ideal, the purpose of this command is to gather as much information as possible about the domain. So if I type DNS ENUM, and then let's say hack this site.org, and here you could see that it's running. It's basically right now what it's doing. It's trying to do, if I go up here, you can see that now these are the host addresses. The A, remember the A, we discussed it before. And here we have the name servers associated with the hack site. Okay. And then here we have the mail servers. Okay. Associated with the domain name. And of course, it's trying the zone transfers and getting, bind versions of it. Okay. And nothing is working. And also the brute forcing with the DNS.txt, this is going to take a long time, so we're going to stop that. Okay. Okay, now let me show you another option. You could add, like, by the way, the reverse lookups usually takes a long time to complete. And so what do we usually do? We say dash, if we do not need the reverse DNS lookup, we say no REVERC. Okay, type here, and you can see the information rolling. Doing the zone transfer, it failed, and we will just stop it right here. Otherwise, this is gonna take a very long time. So this is it for the DNS enum. Now, let's talk about the DNS recon. DNS recon here, if I say you have to type -d and then the domain name, it will do enumeration against this site. And here you could see this, performing general enumeration against hack this site. The first records are, now we know they're not using secure DNS. Okay, see, it's not configured. So the second one here we have SOA, which is start of authority record. This stores important information about the domain or zone, such as the email address of the administrator, when the domain was last updated, and how long the server should wait before refreshes. If you recall, when we did NS lookup, type any, we saw the refresh in seconds. Okay. Now, NS, which is our the name servers. Here we have the MX record, the mail server. Okay, and here the -A, which is the A record resolves name server to its corresponding IP4. Here, this is IP4, and the quad A correspond IP6 to the domain. So we know right now this domain has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 IP6 here. Okay. Now the SPF record identifies the mail servers and the domains allowed to send emails on the behalf of your domain. Receiving servers check your SPF record to verify that incoming messages that appear to be from your organization are sent from servers allowed by you. Okay. So that now we know the text here and here and here. These are records contain text information for the DNS server. It basically lets the web admins or the email, or sorry, the DNS admins leave notes on a domain name system. Could be, for example, to verify domain ownership. So let's take a look at some other option here. Now, if I say dash A, okay, dash A here, what's gonna do is gonna try to do zone transfer. And just wait for it to finish. Okay, show you. Go up, up, up here. You see that? It's checking for zone transfer for this side. And it basically produces the same information we've seen it before. Same thing, MX. But here we could, here we could see that the zone transfer failed for this domain name here. Okay. Now there's also another option. You could use, like to tell it to use TCP protocol, nothing special. You will see the same information here. Okay. So let's just kill it. Now, if you remove this and you type dash V, and here you will get the DNS recon version, the latest one, 1.1.3. Okay, let me show you also another interesting option. You could say dash T STD. Now STD, which means it will produce the start of authority, the quad, A, MX, and SRV information. So you will see the same information you've seen it before. Okay. Now, there's also another interesting option. I will remove this one. I'll type Bing. Okay, now which brings the Bing search for subdomains and host here. Okay. Does not seem to be much information came out, but this is also another option you could use. And this will conclude the DNS recon. Okay, now let's try the Nmap. Try to do DNS enumeration. So I'm going to show you Nmap as a several scripts, by the way. Okay, let's run it again. Okay, here you can see that there is a plenty of scripts you could do, but we will focus on only one for DNS NSE script. Okay, so I'm gonna clear this one. Okay, let's see Nmap, and here we have we're focusing on port 53. We're running the script DNS brute. Okay, let's run it. Basically, this script performs a brute force on the server. Try and get all the host names, and you will see it on the screen in a few seconds. Okay, here you see. Now it provided us with the host names associated with the hacked site. There's a stats. There's a name server. Okay, and these are the IP addresses, the email, the web, the HTTP, www. There's the forum, and there's here the mirror site for hack this site. And this basically will conclude the DNS enumeration, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button below. By subscribing, you'll be notified when I release new videos, and you'll be supporting my channel. Thank you so much for watching.